You can let me know if the screen is visible and my audio, video, everything is okay.
Okay.
So just a sec. Okay, so we'll give it a minute or two for other people to also join. And then pause sharing. Yeah, pause sharing. Yes.
So I think that time spent is also time spent on knowing exactly what has to be done with high quality, so that it can be done in high quality. And then when it's clubbed together with a lot of focus, then you produce good results, high quality results. That's what I interpret. Not just how much amount of time spent you doing that, but time spent in doing it in the most optimal way also is time spent.
Correct. In the optimal way, which is making use of your resources well. And
Yes.
of course, making use of the time. It's like well spent time.
Right.
Okay. And your understanding on anybody can also share about the focus aspect. Like, how do you interpret or inject the focus aspect? Anybody want to share, like, how do you see yourself applying this productivity in your general life, right? Maybe right after this call.
Quality time instead of like quantity. Like it doesn't matter like how long we work. Instead, like we will have to work more focused.
Quality versus the quantity. Okay, great. Suppose your task is, getting completed, but you're really satisfied about it. That means there is a quality in the work that you completed. Am I right? That's how you measure?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anybody else? So how I see this is wherever I have a deep focus when I'm cooking, am I focused intensely well that my satisfaction level increases by the time I complete, just like how Jivita said. So the measure of satisfaction can indicate how well have I focused. Naturally, when I focus, I'm making use of the time as well. But if you are a person, if you remember the productivity episodes that we saw earlier, if you are a person who's not able to get the consciousness of time, like how much time you're spending on certain things, then it is going to be conflicting on your productivity level. I just can't go on forever for cooking, right? Of course, there is a pattern that I've just noticed. I just want to openly share. I've started it's good thing that I'm becoming aware of my patterns, because awareness is a two things in emotional intelligence subject. One is you understanding about emotional literacy, that is you're becoming aware of what's happening in you, how are you feeling, what are you going through, and all that. Second thing is, because of you're going through this kind of feeling, what are you doing, what is the trigger? That is called recognizing patterns. So when I'm recognizing patterns, I recently understood that when I'm cooking, right, I kind of thoroughly enjoy cooking. I've changed my cooking to millets recently, and it's picking out very well. It has its own advantages. The weight loss is actually the byproduct. It's natural consequence of you eating the right kind of nutrition and proportion and all that. It is also helping my friends, who have health issues, especially with my child. She had a indigestion and all that. Right now, she's free out of it. So that's a great achievement. And when it comes to my husband, he's also happy because the millets is actually giving them the nutrition. And for me, weight loss is eventually happening. And I feel good because we are eating nutritious and I don't feel hunger all the time. Okay. Or I don't end up eating a lot. When it comes to rice, I end up eating a lot. So to avoid this, changed my cooking method, introducing millets into it. Now, when I started doing millets, it's kind of giving me a pattern where I started doing elaborate, like soup, rice, different kind of dal, and then one salad. So it's giving an elaborate lunch, of course, for people around me and for me. But then the thing is the process itself is attaching a lot of, unless you plan well, it's not going to get delivered because it'll take forever. So the key is to plan well and focus. Within the stipulated time, you need to deliver. It's actually quite challenging and interesting for me. So I kind of get attached to it. So the pattern is I want to come out of it. Unless I have the consciousness of time, the school time is actually the best time for you to apply all this, because you have your bus coming on time. If you miss it, then you end up doing something else for the child. If you don't pack up the lunch within the stipulated time, you're missing giving the lunch off. If you miss this particular time, you're missing the time to receive your child. So this kind of sets us a routine. However, within you need to be conscious of time as well. This is another skill that we were talking about time management. If you're not conscious about time, the focus or the process that you are into, it's going to get extended and it will hit the other lined up task. Okay, so you need to be aware of your pattern as well. If you have the necessary focus, first of all, getting the focus is what we are going to discuss here. What is actually helping us to focus? Because we have been running, our mind is racing, right? Every moment. For every task, before we come and sit here, there is so much of chaos happening in mind. We have to complete this, we have to do this, and then come here so that they don't disturb us. We have to immediately after this call or during this call, I have to answer my child, or the cooking is happening parallelly. So many things happening. How are we going to bring the focus? So every element is also important. Now, we spoke enough about time. Now, when it comes to focus, we'll see what kind of actually focus is happening, what level of focus, first of all, and how are we spreading the focus, and thereby the energy is also get spreaded. When it comes to focus, we are talking about deep work and shallow work. That is what is actually determining our focus level. For some work, we have already decided, but my brain has already decided that only this much of focus, this much of attention is needed. For something, I'm intensely focused because my brain says, hey, look, you don't yet have an experience in this. You might as well want to concentrate more. You see, I'm using these words: focus, concentration, attention, energy. Everything is connected here. Time, of course, is connected, right? So examples of shallow work. And what is the example of deep? When it comes to shallow work, let's see by definition what they say. Shallow works relates to the tasks that do not require cognitive work. That is, you don't think, you don't reason, okay, if I do this, will I get this? There's no thinking there. So this can be done most of the times when you're distracted also. A classic example is when you're cooking, you can listen to music or listen to news, listen to any of the lessons or podcast or YouTubes or anything. It can be done. Or you can even talk to somebody in your family, right? This can be done. But they are not going to bring much value into the world. Or when I say world, you just have to think about your own world first and then contributing to others, outside this environment. So it is very easy for you to do certain things autopilot, but understand that may not be having a new value created in the world. It may definitely be valuable for your own profile. That is for sure. If I don't cook, if I don't talk, if I don't do this, it's not going to, it may be a mundane routine, but it is also important for me to complete that so that it allows me to concentrate on my deep work. It is the low value work. You should understand the routine is actually low value, but without the routine, we'll all be chaotic. Agree or not? Put your thoughts in the comment box if you're not able to talk. If you agree, then look at the value that you want to create through the other works. What you have to do is maybe you have to schedule. So we're going to be looking at all that in the hacks. So how are we going to, Pooja is agreeing. Thank you so much, Pooja. So if you're agreeing, then you need to find the ways how you can reduce the shallow work and go to the deeper aspects of, productivity. If you continue to do more shallow work, then our ability to perform deep work decreases over time. This is by research. Now, you don't have to agree this immediately. Go back to your normal day-to-day work. Try to understand what is valuable. I'm not saying what is valuable, invaluable. What is important, what is urgent. If you remember the metrics that we spoke, what is important but not urgent, what is urgent but not important. If you know what is, important and urgent in your life right now, you may want to apply this deep work and shallow work over there and see how many things in a day. I always intend to go with my habit tracker. Right from waking up in the morning, every 2 hours, you just be aware. All you have to do is just end of the day, write that tracker. At 7 a.m. you wake up, or 5:30 a.m. the weekdays you wake up. What are we going to do in the next 2 hours? How are we doing? What kind of work are we doing? Is it deep work or shallow work? For most of the moms, it is both. Unless you intensely focus in that 1.5 hours or 2 hours before you let the children go to school, you will not have time to complete, because it is only going to line up. It will only going to give you an extra work. So it is more of a deep work, I must say. But it is a combination of shallow work is also there because it's a normal routine. But the actual deep work starts after they go to school or after you are free from your shallow work. That is a regular routine. What are you going to concentrate on? That's where you will find time, resources, effort, money, everything placed. And important element is goals. If you are a person with goals, then you can actually go back to deep work. You can actually try. But if you don't have a goal, you're just a normal person who are enjoying the parenting or enjoying the day-to-day life. It's totally fine. You may not be able to get into the deep work voluntary. It's like intentionally you don't have to do it. But sometimes in work, your brain will say, this is an emergency. You need to work. And then you will see how this deep work is done. You will not allow yourself get distracted before you complete that. And for people who are working, for businesswomen, people like us, you will know what I'm exactly talking. Deep work is essential part of our work that we are doing. Now we'll see what is deep work. Deep work means those professional tasks that pushes your cognitive abilities to their limit, done in concentration mode without distract. Okay, I remember my mentor introducing this by saying the way he does certain things, either writing a book or preparing, building courses or selling online or something intentionally, some part of business that he need to complete it. He just goes into this room. He will inform his wife or his, family and tell them not to disturb him for next 2 to 3 hours. He will shut his door, sit in his laptop, be deeply focused. First of all, his mobile should be in airplane mode. That is the first requirement. And then shutting the door and keeping all the water bottle or anything that he doesn't have to go out except for the restroom. So these are all the, you may think it could be little things, but then every little thing suggests something. He will line up every other things that is going to add up to his distractions, and he will eliminate the distractions first. So essentially, that's what is the definition of this as well. If you are eliminating the completely no distractions, that's when you're actually getting into the deep work mode at all. It's extremely opposite to what we are doing as a shallow work. And those efforts create new value. It is going to improve your skills, and it is hard to replicate. It is true. It's not easy for you to keep, yourself into deep work for a longer period of hours. That is why they work in chunk of hours, chunking or blocking your time. If you service low impact activities, therefore you're taking away time you could be spending on higher impact activities. It's a zero sum game. Let me explain to you again. If you service low impact activities, therefore you're taking away time that you could be spending on your higher impact activities. That simply means you should know your priorities every day. If you know your priorities really well, today, these are my priorities. Only 3 things could be your higher priorities, or 4 or 5 things, which is totally good. Or sometimes there are no high priorities in a day, which is totally fine based on your work profile. That, when I say work profile, based on your current profile, whether you're a mom or a working mother or a mom, it's totally fine. But if you do have high priorities in a day, you should adapt deep. Otherwise, productivity is just out of question. Okay. Now that you understood what means deep work and, shallow work, we'll quickly see how is it advantage to me. Why is deep work valuable? Because it allows you to monotask. You remember we spoke about the brain capacity during the productivity hours, the episode that we saw, how monotasking is going to help your brain to bring that single pointed focus. Research has proven over and over again that multitasking is actually a myth. It makes people less productive. Without a doubt, focusing on one task at a time, it is actually going to maximize your productive output. Now, without distractions, you're going to get more work done when you're not constantly interrupted by distraction. I have a separate bullet points that I have written specifically for interruption. And I have a separate theory talking for distractions under the focus and concentration. So imagine how much it is important to know what are your interruptions, what are your distractions in this world. Present world, it is very important to be aware of those distractions and interruptions, and you get the ability to eliminate them. That is when you can actually talk about your productivity. Okay. Now about intense focus. If you can put all your energy on the task without distraction, you're going to get a lot more work in lesser time. The more focused you are, the more productive. Isn't it an advantage? Suppose you are able to complete your task on time. Maybe it has a monetary effect or it has a rewarding effect later point of time. Is it not an advantage for you? Are we not supposed to do this all the time? Just think about how your focus level is and how can you make any task valuable by single pointed focus, cutting off the distractions and focusing intensely. Just remember these three. Apply that even right after the call. It could be any task that you want to do. If your routine, don't go overwhelmed with your routine when it is not needed. But if you want to test it out and see, even your routine work can be done by focusing single pointed, by adding intensity to it, and also making sure you're not distracted at that point of time. You will see the difference. And slowly you can get into the practice of deep work mode. Deep work is actually a skill. It needs to be practiced. You might not have the concentration and energy to do it for 1 hour or 2 hours a day when you are a beginner. It is very tough. It's actually a dream for people to get into the switch on that mode. My super mentor called Sam Owens, he says, monk-like discipline. See, he says the monks are tuned every day because of their practicing meditation and yoga. It is natural for them to have a laser point focus. So it takes energy for you to do that. It takes practice and efforts. But slowly and slowly, as you keep honing in on the skill, you'll be able to work deeply and produce massive amounts of work to get the massive advantages of your skills. So it's a skill by itself. Now, for the next 20-30 minutes, I'm going to tell you the philosophy behind it. Take a note of it, practice it. First of all, take in and assess what level are you in? What kind of theory works well for you and what is not working well? And so which one are you going to make use of it? And then make sure either through your learning, you want to share what you have learned, or you go back in the next 24 hours, analyze where you can actually seeing your patterns. Which theory are your behaviors and patterns fitting in? Okay. The first philosophy of deep work is monastic. That is isolating yourself from long periods of work without distractions and no shallow work allowed here. This is more of a monk type. Okay. Monk-like discipline type. And you have to allow, Pooja says, but habits in the routine or compounding. Yes, that is compounding. You're talking about two things. One is habit and routine. Routine is routine. It's a day-to-day work. You cannot avoid it. But what habits are you talking that it is compounding in the routine? That you need to see. If you can, Pooja, just let me know what habits are you talking and what are you trying to say? It is compounding because it is helping you or it is not helping you.
So I mean to say that if we have even the food, whatever we eat on a day-to-day basis, it has to be nutritious and things like that. Then it'll be, although it's mundane work to make food, then if it is nutritious, then it makes more sense. So even the mundane work has to add some value, is what I was trying to say.
So thereby you're somewhere aligning yourself with the definition of shallow work. Shallow work means it doesn't add value. It may not, I must tell you, it may not add new value into your world, but it does definitely add value. That's why I say you cannot avoid routine. But how you are enjoying the routine is up to you. How you are habituating the routine, it is up to you. Most of it will be autopilot, actually. But if you want to, for example, if your driving is autopilot, it's your routine for you to go to your workplace in a particular route. Why don't you shift your route? Take another route. Thereby, you're breaking your habitual pattern. So similarly, if cooking is routine, I'm telling you, Priya, Pooja, I'm challenging you. For me, cooking is not a routine. It's a value add task for me. Actually, it's more of a deep work for me. That's what I found in the recent times where I took a deep detox in India. When I came back, I want to continue that because I saw huge results there. So when I came back, luckily my family also agreed to all that changes that I want to bring in. So before school, there was period of 30 to 40 days for me to do what I want to, implement changes so that my child accepts the routine. When she goes to school, I can simply follow the same routine. So what I did was planning. Planning is a critical element into the cooking routine. And then trying different recipes is something that I brought a different value to the routine. For me to try different recipes in that stipulated time with the given resources, whatever is available in the refrigerator, is a task, is a challenge for me. So I have to concentrate, I have to focus. Of course, the proportion of masalas or, the way that I do cooking, all are on autopilot. I'm becoming efficient into it, but I am adding value because my focus starts from my planning itself. So I don't want to, it's up to me how I want to measure the satisfaction level. Suppose I planned really well and the delivery is really good. I go back and appreciate my planning well. Sometimes my people in the family, my daughter and husband, appreciates the ingredients that I've tried. So I go back and, appreciate the recipes, the way that, I've done the research and all that. Oh yes, Pooja is asking about detox regime later. Sure, I'll do that, Pooja. I'll share it with you. So, you see, I see a lot of deep work also in the area of shallow work. So it's up to you, Pooja, how you want to improvise or create some interesting element into your shallow work also. This is something that we are finding it new, okay? We want to improvise. We are finding a new theory based on our profile, okay? This may not be applicable for the real-time working profile or a business profile because there absolute no distractions. Again, what I'm saying is the philosophy we'll have to go by definition is very true. If I am distracted by listening to music or talking to somebody, I did once talking to my friend, I kind of burnt the millet recipe. Millet recipe is, it needs a little more different kind of proportion of masalas and method of cooking and also focus. It is very important because the grain gets cooked very easily. It's a different mechanism. So you need to have a different level of focus as well. But once I get efficient, once I become good at it is when I'm going to have that as a shallow work. Again, I'm telling you, cooking as a goal, I will not make it shallow. It depends on me. How I want to see that as a cooking, nutrition, adding nutrition to my family is one of the 3 main goals. So I might as well do it as a deep work, right, Pooja? Okay, so now the second one is bimodal focus, bimodal philosophy in deep work. That is reserving a few consecutive days when you will be working like a monastic. You need at least 1 day in a week to implement this. So, for example, consecutive days, I've decided right after my child went to school, I had a different routine. Like all mothers are like going through different routines at different times, right? Monday to Friday is one routine, and then again the routine gets hit when it is a Saturday and Sunday. When it's a school break, again, one more routine. So, we're all going through this graph, okay? But for you to become productive, for you to have a deep work, you need to be able to put your foot down and say no to your distractions. I'm not saying family is a distraction, but you need to be able to outsource, delegate. You need to find that time. You need to make them understand and find that time for yourself so that you will fix in your mind for the next 3 or 4 consecutive days. I'm going to fix one goal and I'm going to be working on this. So similarly, I took up one goal for last week. I only worked on that goal for 3 consecutive days. And then I took a break. Usually I will take a break. If I work for 5 days, I'll take 1 break. So it's like rhythmic for me. My body itself, my brain and body will tell me this is not working today. So I had that kind of a rhythm. But then when I, changed my routine, for example, I went to India, that's a biggest change in the routine. That kind of disturbed my circadian rhythm and my momentum in my business or work. That will take a huge gap in the momentum. But for people, when we don't have that kind of event, then it is easy for us to jump back to the routine. But it is important to have a cut or a rhythm in your routine, which is what we are going to see the next model. But in the second model, you're going to reserve in your mind, your focus, your energy has to be reserved to work like a monk for continuous 2 or 3 days. I know it is very difficult, but if you do that, you will know the actual meaning of what we are trying to say. You will see a different version of yourself. Perhaps you can see the result in your work. Okay. Then comes the rhythmic model. That is taking 3 to 4 hours every day to perform deep work on your project. We saw broad change in your mind to become a monk-like discipline. And then we brought down to, with that monk-like discipline, you continue to work 2 or 3 days only and you take a break. Now we are saying in every day, you can actually implement the monk-like discipline as well. How? You fix based on your priorities. Unless you have a high priorities, all these things, unless you know what's your priorities, you will not be able to connect what I want to say. So the first thing is to fix your priorities. And once you know your priorities, make sure in a day, if you have your to-do list, the 2 or 3 hours in a day, it's totally okay. And then take a break. Bio breaks can also be a break for you to, go back and come. But apart from that, do not have any other distract. Okay. Now comes the fourth one called journalistic. That is when you work like a journalist. How does the journalist work? They suddenly, all of a sudden, they will all come up when there is a, an incident. So whenever there is an incident occurs, you have to go. This means you have to perform deep work whenever you get free time. I will be able to explain to you in one by one. But when you go back to the first model, I want you to think deeper. Monk-like, totally disconnect. Remember this. And then think weekly. An example is Bill Gates, when he brought the concept of Microsoft. Before that, he detached himself for 8 weeks, it seems. Totally. And if you have not seen, you have to watch the documentary. Then you will know his work style. How does his brain work actually? So everybody knows in the industry that Bill Gates goes away for 2 months, totally detached. He has the coastal area house and all that. He goes and keeps reading books. That is the technique that he has to build his creativity. And then he comes up with some innovative ideas. Similarly, Steve Jobs, before he got the Apple products, he went to India. And, you all know the story, right? He went to a monk, a sage, Indian sage, and then he got some surrendering and all that happened. When he came back with an idea of bringing the Apple product. Similarly, it is going to help you revive your thinking capacity. Okay. When you think about buy model, when you need to perform deep work, you go and separate yourself in it has to be a different place. It's okay. I mean, even inside your house, you just find a place separately for you. And that space, you make sure that it is not disturbed. The frequency of the place is maintained. Make sure that it is decluttered. The space is, some divinity is there in your place in terms of hygiene, cleanliness, and order in which you have kept, or it has to be surrounded. When we talk about decluttering, right, as a topic, I'll give you some hacks as to what are all the pointers that you have to keep in your mind when it comes to decluttering your space, mind, people, situations. It's like detox. Okay. So you got to do this and you're able to do 12 to 72 hours continuously. You come back to your regular life, repeat it until you finish your work. And an example of this is J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author. She had done the series in a hotel. She just went into the hotel, locked herself for writing this book. Many of the successful authors have this habit. I've seen this, my mentor is doing, and I've seen the smaller version of my mentor is actually helping me here. I'm actually becoming the smaller version of what I have seen the successful people. Otherwise, it's not. That is why when I go to cooking, right, I enjoy, because I think there is a deep focus there. And when I'm doing this, I don't even take bio breaks, because the body itself is allowing me to, deeply focus. I'm sure it is true with you all. When you are listening to something deeply, maybe the topic could be interesting. It could be maybe your body and energy level is cooperating, or people around you is allowing you, or you're happy that you want to learn. It could be many reasons. But when your ability to focus, then you will find some new version of you. When it comes to rhythmic, let's see what is the example. At first, the rhythmic happiness, model, it may work for 1 to 1.5 hours. But when you start to do it regularly, you can stretch it to 4 hours. A classic example is this call. Weekly, 1 to 1.5 hours call. When you start showing up every week, it forms a rhythmic. Okay. And you will have the ability to go for 4 hours. People used to wonder, a lot of people who take a live workshop or live training, right? I used to wonder at my EQ mentors, the masters, non-stop, they will go for one full day, continuously like that for next 4 days. I used to be amazed. She is an American coach. Doesn't matter whether it's an Indian coach or not. I've seen Indians also that way. But then unstoppable, even after, the fag end of the day, they continue to answer our questions. Unstoppable. And the next day morning, they'll be the first one to turn up. So it's possible, but then how they're able to do is what we are decoding. It is possible to try a schedule for early morning, because if you're completing your main task before doing anything others, then it will give you a confidence boost. And also many people feel energetic in the morning. This is one hack I picked up from Eat the Frog book, which we will be discussing. That, the book will also be part of the productivity series. Don't miss that episode as well. So this is for rhythmic. Now about journalists. You're going to alternate your day between deep and shallow work as it fits your blocks of time. This is not recommended to try first. Anyway, we are doing the journalist job only, right? Whenever there is a firefighting incident, most of the firefighting modes, people who are in that mode, right, they will soon be exhausted. You know why? Because they have this journalist thing of whether the person is in the person actually involved in the firefighting mode, or people who are audience, they actually go and watch and then they come back, okay, I learned this, I should not be doing this, and then they go off mode, shallow mode. They won't be able to focus or consistently continue their learning. Instead, they will be switched off. It will be totally irrelevant for them. Again, one more incident happens and they will become a journalistic people, where they will be intensely focusing and working on it. And once the incident is over, there's no talking about it at all. Here you are most free to do deep work anytime. You can start doing deep work by this method. Then you can convert this into rhythmic approach. That's exactly what I said. You can, when you're a beginner, you can start doing this. A classic example of this community call, it's okay. And people, suddenly when they see my reminders, they come in. It's okay. Maybe they have forgotten what we spoke in the last episodes. But then you showing up today can be turned as a rhythmic deep focus model in the upcoming episode. That is depending on you. So Cal Newport says, the author of this book says, this method he uses for this, for writing his book. Okay. Specifically for book, it's just one part of incident, right? He gets that excitement, locks his door, just like how Bill Gates does. And then he allows this, taking feedback from others, taking a survey from others. He suddenly creates that incident. And then he puts everything, all his focus, energy, money, effort into it, and then the book is ready. And after the book is ready, he recommends that he recommends everybody to either go back to the rhythmic or monk-like discipline. Otherwise, your journalistic model, the mode will not be switched off. You got to use all these 4 modes, smartly, so that you're not attached to only one mode. I must tell you, you attaching to one mode, let's take example of monastic mode, will put you into exhaustion mode very quickly. You got to be able to come to the rhythmic mode immediately after you complete that work. Otherwise, deep work mode all the time, first of all, it's not possible and it will be exhaustive. If you don't produce, you won't thrive. No matter how skilled you are, how talented you are. I like this quote. If you don't produce, you're actually not thriving. You're actually not value adding at all to your own self or to your family or to your others around you. So it is important that you start producing value-added work. How you do is what we are discussing. You go to deep work mode or you choose to do shallow work mode depending on your priority. Now this is, we are going to wrap up in another 10-15 minutes, but then this is also a model that it's in a picture representation. I want you to quickly see and let me know what you understand from this. If it's not clear, I will expand this. Can any one of you tell me your interpretation as to what understanding that you have when you look at this? It's the same thing that we discussed in the models, different models. There's one person joined on the phone. Is it Pooja or somebody else? Okay. All right.
Brenda, can you please tell us what is bimodal again quickly?
Bimodal is working for consecutive days, 2 or 3 days.
Okay, got it.
In a week.
Yes, got it. Yeah, so I think the whole day or the whole week or the whole month is divided within this shallow work or deep work. So the monastic way is to have only deep work. The bimodal way is have shallow work in bits, as you can see in red. Rest is deep work. Rhythmic is a little bit more of shallow work. First deep work, shallow work, deep work, shallow work. And the journalistic way is more of the action, wherever there is more action, which is shallow work, deep work, shallow work, and more of shallow work and less of deep work. That's what I understand.
Okay, thank you, Pooja. It depends on your priorities again. It depends on the energy level on that day. It's totally fine. I mean, it's not like every day we have the same kind of energy within us, so we'll be able to gain the focus. It's not going to happen. The rhythm of our own body is not going to let you happen that way. So as long as you have this awareness, it is easy for us to be flexible. It is easy for us to choose the right option. Now you see, I'm talking about the structure that we spoke, awareness, and then you'll be able to take better choices. Now it is time for you to act on those choices. You have the options right now because of the necessary awareness you have built. The right after this call, the actions that you are going to make is what is going to determine your results. How far are you with your results? Of course, you need to be aware of what desired results you want. I'm necessarily talking about fixing your high priorities in a day or the goals that you need to reach. If you don't have that yet, you might want to, just pick up any goals for the next. It could be an immediate goal that you want to complete in 1 or 2 days, and you see how this 4 models is going to help you achieve that. Don't be harsh. That's what I want to, conclude saying. All these learnings that we are taking, the reason why you're here or the efforts that you have taken itself is appreciated. Okay. All you have to do is just have some compassion on you. We have lost that momentum or touch of, continuous learning, right? When we were at school, both our brain allowed us to learn a lot, and the atmosphere is like everybody, made us go to school for learning, and it's like a compulsion. So we are bound to learn. But right now we are not bound to learn. Nobody is telling us. It is on our own effort and our own. It could be a guilt, or it could be the necessity that we started feeling, or it could be a conscious effort that we want to upgrade ourselves, maybe to contribute to the family or take care of the family goals or help others around us or help our own selves. Maybe you're stuck badly. So this effort itself is appreciable, and the level of focus that you displayed here today will definitely help you reinstate your learning. The only thing that you have to do is, right after this call, remember that retention keys 10 24/7. Just follow that, and by the time I meet you next week, if you have applied and if you have got the desired results, share it with us. I'll be more than happy to see all these concepts. If it is still not working for me yet, maybe my life journey is different for this week, but somebody is working, I might as well have that inspiration. Hey, it's working for you, it should definitely work for me. I'm sure it's the case for other moms as well. So I must thank you for being here, and I hope you've got some learning today. If it has really helped you, you may want to go back to the group and share what is your one learning, and then make sure that you are recollecting the productivity episodes learning. If you have taken notes or somewhere, connect the dots, and so you will be ready for the next week's learning. All right, I'll see you the next week. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brinda.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Bye. Bye.